Hello! Today you are going to be learning about how to make animations in Photoshop. Let's start by doing File, New, and let's go ahead and call this Smiley. Let's have a width and height of 500 pixels, so you do have to change it from inches to pixels on your computer. Very important to do that. Go ahead, inches to pixels. The resolution will stay at 72 since this will be a screen display in a browser. Say OK. Next, the first thing we're going to do, we want to add a gradient background layer. However, we first have to check to see what colors. So go over to your left toolbar and click on the foreground color. Let's go ahead and choose just a gray, that'd be fine, and say OK. So we have gray and white that we're going to make our gradient from. If we go over to the Layers palette on our right, go down to the half moon, which is the adjustments layer, and click on the half moon and follow it up the menu to the word gradient. You'll notice that it takes on a linear gradient. You do have other choices. The reason it's gray and white is because our colors are gray and white. Let's accept that, say OK. Since we've made our gradient fill layer, there's no need to have a separate background layer that's locked. Let's go ahead and just click on background layer and hit delete. Okay, now let's go up and let's make a big fat smiley face. So what I would like you to do first is go to your toolbar and choose, please, click on, it should look like this, a rectangle tool. The little arrow indicates other tools are underneath it. Let's choose the ellipse. Also notice every time you choose a tool, an options bar for that tool appears above your window. So let's go ahead the first time and let's choose a shape layer for the face. Now we need to get a color. Oh, it's always best to get your colors first. And when we use the shape layer, it's going to be a vector mask shape that's going to come in. It's very crisp and clean. However, you have to do something called rasterizing it if you want to change colors. So in this case, we have to change our color first. So let's go ahead and choose maybe a tanish color and say OK. Now you can see we're on shape layers with an ellipse with a tan color at the top options. Please hold down your shift key so that you make a perfect circle and start up in the upper left hand corner. Oh, look what happened. It drew from the center, which is fine. And I'm going to make this about the size that I would like. And I'm going to drop it. Now you're thinking, what happened? It really is all tan. But you go to your top move tool in your tools and you move the shape accordingly till it's centered. All right. Now that we've done that, go over to your Layers palette and where it says Shape 1, double click Shape 1. We always like to name our layers. And let's go ahead and just call this Face. And you can just click into the words, double click, type the name, and click off. Okay? If you don't like the placement, remember you can always, as long as you have that layer selected, you can grab the Move tool and decide where you'd like to place it. Next, let's go ahead this time and let's use, instead of a shape layer with a vector mask, let's use fill pixels. Now notice that when we used our shape layer, with this mask, if we point to each of these icons in the palette, it says layer thumb, and here's a link. It's a vector mask is linked to the layer. That must mean the right is the vector mask. So we did create it, but it made its own layer. Filled pixels will not, but we can recolor and manipulate easier even though they're not as crisp and clear. Okay, so let's go ahead and go down in our Layers palette. Next to our garbage can to the left of that is an icon that will create a new layer. Click that. Instead of layer 1, let's go ahead and let's name this layer Left Eye. Now, technically this would be the right eye because you're staring at it, but while drawing, we will call it the left eye, and we'll place it to the left. For this one, let's go ahead and choose let's say a color, maybe green. This little character will have some nice vivid green eyes. And if ever you get this yellow triangle that comes up, it's an out of gamut warning for printing, which means it won't print the same color. And when you click the triangle, it shows you what color will be printed on this printer, because we are under, if you see, RGB, red, green, blue colors. Say OK. At this time, the left eye is ready. So let's go ahead and grab our brush in our toolbar. We want to click the down arrow, and let's grab just a nice, solid, hard round for the actual look of the eye. And then the size of the eye, you can tell how big it's going to be. I do a little bit bigger, so maybe I'll go to a 50 pixel eye. And then I'm on the left eye layer. You must be on left eye. And go ahead and click it, and it will do a nice solid green eye for you. Now, in order to do the right eye, we want it to be of the same color, same shape. So what we're going to do is we're just going to right click on our left eye layer, go up to duplicate, and call this right eye. Now you're thinking, where the heck's the right eye? I just duplicated it. It should be there. Well, it is, but it's on top of the left eye. It's just a duplicate. Go to your Move tool, stay on the right eye layer. Now grab and drag so that you can see your right eye. Now that we've finished the left and the right eye, what we're going to do is make a new layer and entitle this one, double-click it, call it Nose. Hit Enter. Let's go through, and actually if we want the nose to be black, we can just click this little button that says go back to the default. Click it, it's the black and white, so now we have the black. Go up and change your brush to the pencil and choose a 15 point, just select it and put 15 pixels and just choose a hardened one. Okay, now let's go ahead and just draw our little nose. Okay, now if we think that's too vivid, we can go over to the nose layer on the layers palette, and we can say, oh, let's change the opacity just so it's not quite as vivid, maybe 75, so the nose nut isn't quite so bright. Okay, so the nose is at a 75 opacity. Now let's go ahead and make a new layer. Next, we're going to create the mouth. Now we're going to do lines, and we're going to do 3 different mouth views. This one is going to be straight mouth. Okay, and let's go ahead and start with that. Let's change our color. Let's go ahead with some bright red lips, and if you see the triangle, you click it, say OK. Next, let's choose our custom shapes because it's easiest to do it there. Or I apologize, your line tool rather. Notice again your options bar is up. We're choosing, this is important, we're saying fill pixels, and we have our line. The weight of the line, let's initially try for a 5 pixel. And let's see if we like that. Now we want to go a straight line, so we're going to hold down Shift and we're going to draw a straight line for the mouth. Now I actually would like that to be a little bit thicker. So whenever you want to make a change, you always have to be on that layer. Let's stay on our straight mouth layer. We're going to go to Edit, Transform, and we can this time just decide we want to scale it. Now, I'm going to escape to get out of that. Another way that you can do it, I still have my layer selected, is Control T, and that is my preferred method since it's so darn easy. Easy breezy. I'm just going to make it a little bit wider here. Okay, so it's a little higher in the height, and then I just either go up and commit my change with the little check mark, or I hit Enter. There we go, there's my straight mouth. Now, duplicate your straight mouth layer. Right click, duplicate the layer, and instead of straight mouth layer, this one is going to say smile mouth. All right, so what we do is we're going to punch the eye out, which basically means we're going to actually click off the eye visibility for the straight mouth. Okay, let's go to the smile mouth. Now, this time instead of just Control T, transform, we want Edit, Transform, Warp. Because when I smile, I really want to smile here, okay? So I can choose what I want to do. I could have a crooked smile if I wanted to. Fine, we'll do a crooked smile today. This time, instead of committing with the check mark, I'm just going to hit Enter. Now, I'm going to punch the eye out of that, and I'm going to go again back to the straight mouth and duplicate it. Now we need the frown mouth. And say OK. Now for the frown mouth, we have to punch the eye in. And this time, again, Edit, Transform, and Warp. Okay, now go ahead and turn that straight one into a frown. Okay, once you do that, commit it. And we're all done setting up our basic file. So let's do File, Save, and I would like you to save this into where your directory is. So whether you're using a backpack, H drive, whatever, please save this into your Photoshop folder for this class. All right, so it should say Smile, and it's a Photoshop document, so they call it PSD, Photoshop document, and save it. It's very important you always save your PSD. If you don't, you can never get back to the layers. Now I want you to see what happens if, in fact, I grab the face and I start putting it, I move it, like on top of the left eye and right eye. My eyes are gone. Oh no, but they're there, and the eyes are visible. It's just because you stacked them so that the face is on top of the eyes. So I'm going to move the face down. There's another eye, move the face down. So it's always important how you stack your layers.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it, move it.
Alrighty, now that we have all of our layers done, we are ready to start our animation. Let's go to the Windows menu and pull down Animation. It'll open up at the bottom. Now it may open up looking like a timeline view, not a problem. All you do is you click on the bottom icon, Convert to Frame Animation, to get yourself into the frame by frame view. That's where I'd like you, please. Now let's start with, you have to know that with the animation, you should only have the eyes visible that you actually want to show. So let's start with punching all the eyes out. Now go down to the bottom and let's see. Let's start with a full face with just a straight mouth. So we want the gradient, so that's always going to stay in. We want the back of the face, so that's always going to stay in. You may, for the beginning, let's go ahead and have both eyes. Later, you may choose not to. I'm going to have the nose, and I want the straight mouth. Okay, but the other layers, I'm not going to have in view at this time. Now on my animation palette, I go over next to the garbage can. There's an icon that says Duplicate Selected Frames. You click that button. It makes a second frame. Now I want you to punch the eye out of the straight mouth and put the eye into the smile. Okay, now go down again and duplicate and make a third frame. Now punch the eye out of the smile and make a frown. Okay, do the same thing, make a new layer. And this time, I'm actually going to punch one of my eyes out so he doesn't have a right eye. Then I'm going to duplicate the frame again. I'm at frame 5, and I'm going to put the eye back again like he was blinking at them. Okay? But I'm going to look, and I see there's 10 seconds. That's going to take a really long time to play. So I'm going to start by clicking on frame 1. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and click on frame 5 in order to select these. I could hold down Control and individually select them, but this is faster. I'm going to go to where it says 10 seconds and click the black down arrow by it. And I'm just going to start with, let's say, 1 second. Now I'm going to click on frame 1. I'm going to go down, click on the little button, that's the play button, and play the animation. And I can see each second where it goes. So it animates it, and the little eye blinks at me. Now what if I would like a loop where I want to play this instead of once? I would like to play this, go to other. I want to loop it 2 times and say okay. And if I'm going to loop it, it's a little choppy with just going straight from the frown sometimes right to the straight line. So I am going to put in a transition. So I'm going to click on frame 5. I'm going to go down and click on the tween button. It tweens the animation frames. And I'm going to say I want to tween frame 5, not with frame 4, but with the first frame 1. And I just want to add 2 frames, so change that to 2. Say OK, and let's watch what happens. Let's click on frame 1, click the play button, and watch. And it should go through 2 times because that's what we instructed. We wanted 2 loops. Good job. Okay, let's go ahead at this time and make sure that it stopped. Let's hit File Save again because we already saved it once and we're saving the PSD. Now, it is time for us to save this as an animated GIF. If we saved it as a JPEG, it wouldn't work. Go to File. We do not this time choose Save or Save As. The only way we can get it to animate as a GIF is to say Save for the web and click the down arrow and choose GIF. Click Save. Now go into your Photoshop folder again where you have the Photoshop document saved of this. And at this time, it should say smiley.gif. And the format, believe it or not, is images only. And save. Now, let's see if our browser will pick it up. Please go into your file directory, find where you saved it, and I would like you please, after you find it, go into it and double-click the GIF file. Just double-click it to open it, and let's see if it plays in your browser all by itself. There's 1, and it's looping for 2. Very nice. And stop. And you did it! You did it! Now you're ready to do your own.